Hi there. Today we're going to be showing you how to fit the TEC upgrade suspension units to the Street Twin. Now this also applies to the T120 Bonneville in the new range. Now Triumph have changed the mountings on these shocks and also the spec. So there is a slight difference on how you fit these shocks, so I'm going to take you through that now. First of all, you need to undo the shock. So 12mm spanner. Now what I like to do is just loosen this rear footrest mounting off a little bit, and that just gives you enough play to get in here to get this bolt out. Now what you'll find is once you take the shock off, the bike's going to try to want to drop even though it's sitting on one shock, so just be aware of that. It won't fall down right onto its knees, but it will drop a little bit. Try and put plenty of Loctite on these bolts so they're tight all the way out. So like I said, just carefully take that off and it will drop. There you go. So just be aware of that. As you can see, Triumph have changed the size on these shocks from the normal ones, so they're different to the earlier models. So the shock we supply has adjustable length and adjustable preload on it. You know, it's supplied ready to mount, so literally you just put it straight on there, it'll fit straight onto the pins. Now you will need to lift the bike a bit to get that on there. Now this is one of the important bits. As you can see, Triumph have fitted shorter studs on here, so they're not quite the full width of the shock. So it's very important that you fit the shims that we supply in the kit to bring that up a level. Otherwise, when you tighten it up, it'll lock the shock up and it won't be allowed to pivot. So very important, you put that washer in first. Now they're a 1.6mm thick washer that we supply in the kit. And the same on the bottom. Put the washer spacer on first, then the Triumph washer. Screw that up. Now the adjustable length on these units, the standard units are 340. I set these to 345, and that just lifts the back a little bit. That's my personal preference, but you can put them to whatever length you want. Anything in the range from 335 up to 380 with the spacers that we provide. So you can take it right up to the Thruxton length if you want to, and that'll really pull the front end in and jack the back end up. That'll make for a much quicker, sportier feel. But to keep the look of the bike right, I tend not to use the spacers and set them about 345. And also, because we've got the suspension upgrade kit on the front, which allows us to trim the front, I drop the front end about 5mm as well. So that gives us an attitude change on the bike, tail up and front end down, which pulls the rake in a little bit and quickens the whole bike up. Now what I suggest you ride these first, and unless you're carrying a lot of weight, is to leave them fully backed off on the preload, because they are quite stiff at first, and take it for a ride to try it out. You will find after a sort of 100 miles or so that they do soften up a bit, and you'll put a bit more preload adjustment on. And also if you're carrying a passenger or you've got luggage on the back, you'll want to wind that up a bit as well. But if you're sort of average weight, you won't need to put anything on. Like I say, you will find they're very stiff at first, and you think, oh God, what have I done? But just bear with it, ride them for a few hundred miles, and after that you won't even know they're on there. They're so good you won't realise that you've done anything, whereas the other ones were a bit bouncy. Triumph did improve the spring rate a lot, so they did put progressive springs on, and the springs are very similar to the ones that we use. But quite important is, after you've ridden the bike for the first time, and after the first month or so, it's just this rubber here at the bottom of the shock, the bump stop, and underneath you'll see a 19mm spanner size nut. It's a bit fiddly to get into with an open-ended spanner, but what you need to do is just check that's fully nipped up. You'll probably need to hold the bottom. Just make sure that whole assembly's nipped nice and tight there. Now, once the bike's settled in a bit, just go around and check all these nuts in again after a couple of hundred miles or so, just to make sure everything's nice and tight, because you don't want anything this coming loose on you. And that's about it, the only thing you need to do. When you do adjust the preload, make sure that the threads are clean, because these are aluminium threads. I have had issues with people trying to adjust them after they've been out in the salt and they get grit and road dirt in there. So just give them a good clean off, wash them off, and put a little squirt of WD-40 or light oil on there before you adjust them, and you shouldn't have any problems with those at all. As regards the air pressure, I get asked a lot about that on these. Generally, you don't need to touch it. If you are having problems with hard shocks, soft shocks or whatever, give us a call, we can advise you on that. But generally we don't encourage people to mess about that, because you do need special equipment really to do it properly. It's only really there so you can let the pressure out, so you can rebuild the shock, because they are fully rebuildable. Or in some special cases you can adjust the pressure on it. But that doesn't really have that much influence on how the shock performs. So there you go. Keep an eye out on our YouTube channel. We have got a lot more improvements and upgrades on the Street Twin and Bonneville coming. Probably about 20 new items in the range to come. And keep an eye on our web shop. Okay, thanks for now.